Welcome back, everyone. Let's jump right into today's explainer. We're looking at a deeply profound framework straight out of ancient Vedic scriptures, Trayitavad, or the three eternal truths. If you're fascinated by the absolute core building blocks of existence, the kind mapped out in the oldest text humanity has, you are gonna love this.
Think about it for a second. What in the universe is truly eternal? It's probably the oldest philosophical question in the book. Well, the ancient Vedas actually have a highly specific three-part answer to that exact question. And honestly, looking at the source material we're covering today, this ancient framework clears up a ton of modern misconceptions about Vedic philosophy.
All right, here's our roadmap for the explainer. First, we'll outline the three eternals. Then, we're going to look at God as supreme consciousness, the soul as the consumer, and Prakriti, or physical matter. After that, we'll dive into how they all interact cosmically, and finally, what the ultimate goal of all this really is. Let's get into it.
Section 1. The Three Eternals.
So, this whole foundational concept is called Trayitavad. Now, you'll often hear this popular misconception, usually from later philosophical interpretations, that everything in the universe is just one big illusion. But the source material makes it super clear that the original Vedas teach Trayitavad, meaning there are exactly three distinct eternal entities: God, the soul, and physical matter, which is known as Prakriti. These three, they have always existed. They always will. They were never created out of nothing, and there is literally no way they can ever be completely destroyed.
Section 2. God, Supreme Consciousness.
The texts actually give us this beautiful line, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. Basically, one God exists eternally, but wise people call God by many names. The source material points out that even though you see hundreds of names in the texts, like Om, Agni, or Ishvara, the Vedas are strictly monotheistic in their teaching. There is only one God. And really, crucially here, this God is absolutely formless and totally non-anthropomorphic.
So how do the Vedas define this single God? Well, it's about absolute perfection. We're talking omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. Because God is completely perfect and exists everywhere all at once, the text argues that God is never born and never dies. And, maybe surprisingly for some, God fundamentally does not incarnate in human form. We aren't talking about a human-like figure sitting on a cloud somewhere. This is a perfect, universal spirit. There's actually a brilliant Sanskrit term the text uses to summarize God's unique nature: Sat Chit Anand. This is basically the ultimate matrix of perfection. Sat stands for eternal existence and truth. Chit is supreme consciousness. And Anand means supreme bliss. And here's the kicker. God doesn't just have bliss. According to the Vedas, God literally is bliss.
Moving right along. Section 3. The soul, the consumer.
Now, this is where we get a really fascinating contrast. A lot of philosophies out there try to tell you that the soul and God are the exact same thing, but the source text pushes back on that hard, using the Vedas. While God is infinite, omnipresent, and essentially made of supreme bliss, the individual soul is limited. It's localized to a single body, and, right now, it totally lacks that bliss. We are conscious, sure, but our energy and our awareness, they're tiny compared to the supreme consciousness.
The text actually breaks down the soul into 6 distinct characteristics: desire, repulsion, effort, happiness, sorrow, and knowledge. See, unlike God, who is already entirely perfect, the soul has free will. We are constantly acting out of what we want or what we want to avoid. We exert effort, which generates karma, and because of this constant action and our inherent limitations, the soul is basically on a roller coaster, experiencing both happiness and sorrow as it navigates existence.
Okay, Section 4. Prakriti. Physical matter.
Now, what's incredibly cool about this framework is how elegantly we can map out the differences between our three eternals using that Sat Chit Anand concept. God has the whole package, right? Eternal, conscious, blissful. The soul only has two. It's eternal and conscious, but entirely lacks bliss. And then look at Prakriti, physical matter, at the bottom. It only has Sat. It is eternal for sure, but it has zero consciousness and zero bliss.
Just to be absolutely clear here, Prakriti, or physical matter, is completely inert on its own. It doesn't do anything by itself. It's just the raw, subatomic material cause of the physical universe. Think of it as the stage, or the raw building materials, for the soul's journey. It has absolutely no awareness whatsoever.
So, how does this actually turn into the universe we live in? Well, since matter is inert, God has to act as the spark. The text describes this mind-blowing, endless cosmic cycle. You have pralaya, which is a time of dissolution where all matter is just dormant. Then God triggers Srishti, waking up that inert matter and expanding it into the universe we experience. And this massive cycle of creation and dissolution, it just keeps going, forever. It's often called a day in the life of Brahma, representing God's cosmic cycle.
Which brings us to Section 5, the cosmic interaction.
Now, you might be wondering, and it's a huge rhetorical question, right? If God is already perfect and doesn't need anything, why bother creating the universe at all? The source material gives a really profound answer. God doesn't need the universe. The whole thing is created entirely for us, for the benefit of the souls. We need a place to act, to learn, and most importantly, to chase that bliss that we're lacking.
To really visualize this dynamic, the source text pulls this absolutely stunning metaphor straight from the Rig Veda. It says, two beautiful birds, who are intimate friends, are sitting intimately close to each other on the same tree.
Let's decode this classic Vedic imagery, because it's brilliant. That tree they're sitting on, that represents Prakriti, the physical, material universe. The first bird is the individual soul. This bird is busy eating the fruit of the tree, meaning it's heavily engaged with the material world, chasing desires and dealing with the consequences, karma. The second bird is God, and God isn't eating the fruit because God is already completely fulfilled. Instead, God just intimately watches and provides inner guidance to the soul, acting as its absolute closest companion.
And that takes us to our final part. Section 6, the ultimate goal.
The journey of the soul follows a very clear, distinct path. Step 1 is karma. The soul has free will, so it performs deeds out there in the material world. Step 2 is bhoga. The soul then has to actually experience the consequences of those deeds, good or bad, across its lifetimes. But get this, that cycle of karma and bhoga, that is not the end game. The ultimate goal is step 3, moksha. Moksha is when you finally break free from this entire cycle and attain infinite bliss by reconnecting with God.
So how do you actually pull that off? How do you break the cycle? The text points straight to Dharma. And look, Dharma isn't about blind, dogmatic rituals. It is a highly moral, virtuous way of living that is fundamentally rooted in rigorous truth and compassion. It's all about making choices that actively uplift your soul rather than just tying it down further into the material world. You've got to practice truth in your thoughts, your words, and your actions.
Working right alongside Dharma is the practice of true yoga. Now, the source makes it clear that true yoga is way more than just physical stretching on a mat. It's the conscious, inward joining of your mind and intellect with God. Think back to that metaphor. The second bird is sitting right there on the exact same branch. God, the supreme bliss, is already residing inside the soul as a silent guide. Yoga is basically turning away from all the shiny distractions of the material tree so you can finally connect with your inner companion.
Which leads us to one final, really powerful thought. The Vedas present this incredible reality where a perfect God created an entire physical stage, specifically so your soul could find its way to ultimate joy. So ask yourself this. If the eternal supreme bliss is already your closest companion, sitting right there on the branch with you, what is your soul waiting for? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep seeking the truth, and I'll catch you in the next one.